Welcome to whatever this is. PSL Season 3 trade reaction, I guess. I'm a little rusty. It's not going to be 4 hours of me prattling on with my friends, but I could not resist weighing in on one of the most shocking moments in the entire history of PSL. And honestly, one of the most shocking moments in history of competition. Chris has traded Diancie, Mega Diancie, to Jacob in exchange for none of Landorus T or Volcarona or Keldeo. It's not Gliscor, not Magnezone or Hippowdon, but Empoleon. Uh, so Mega Diancie. Mega Diancie, who is one of only two premier fairy type Pokemon in the entire league. The number one Magic Bounce user in the league, Mega Diancie. A Mega Diancie who, despite being in the middle of an underwhelming rookie season, was still the wall breaking, mixed attacking, hazard bouncing star that many other teams would salivate at the prospect of acquiring. That Mega Diancie just got traded. And not just traded, but offered up as ransom, essentially, in exchange for a very specific target on one team. And I've talked to my sources, all right? And my sources are saying that they did not approach any other team with this offer. None of the teams you're thinking of at the top of the league, or this was a deal made in silence for a very specific Pokemon in mind, and that Pokemon happened to be Empoleon. In all my years of watching and playing this league, I've seen every season. In terms of just sheer shock value and like holy shit moments, I can think of like five, maybe six other times where I've been this surprised. That's it. Superstars do not often get traded like this, and they do not get traded without netting a crazy return, and very not often do they get traded in the middle of the season, which I think is an important variable here. So I thought of many things when I was processing this, but I think first of all, my immediate reaction was honestly, I thought Empoleon was on Ethan's roster, and I almost got really mad. But after correctly reading the roster sheets, um, I think my mind went to the first game of the season for Chris. Diancie is brought, but it never Mega Evolves. Game 2, Diancie comes alongside Swampert, and at the end of the game, it's Swampert who's Mega Evolved. Overshadowed on a roster in which, I remind you, it was the first overall selection of the draft. That's where Empoleon's sitting now. Um, and, you know, at the time, we all kind of thought it was funny, like, oh, you're leaving Steph Curry on the bench. But in retrospect, it kind of feels like that was a real thing. My mind went to Steelix, and it went to Curon Black and Jirachi. You know, I thought about these Pokemon because this is essentially now like four franchises in the league that have bet against Diancie. They were bet against in the draft. Nobody projected Diancie in the top 5 or anything, but even at the time, certain Mons taken over it were considered reaches. And now, in dramatic fashion, Chris has bet against Diancie once again. First of all, for Jacob's team, I mean, oh my god, this is every star. Jacob's going to have every sick offensive Pokemon in the league, and there's nothing we could do about it. For a team that had many good Pokemon on it already, this feels like a windfall that they needed, honestly. There's a lot of, like I said, good Mons on here that do a lot, are pretty versatile, but, well, not really versatile. The one thing that they lacked was, like, a centralizing offensive threat, particularly a Mega. Now, there are Megas on this roster. Of course, Altaria and Absol have been brought in every game, because you want to bring a Mega Pokemon, but they aren't really... well, on the tier of, like, you know, the other Pokemon on the roster in terms of their roles. So getting Mega Diancie in this slot is just insane. I mean, and that's not even counting for the synergy it has with the roster as is. Like, bouncing rocks is huge for Diancie. It's really nice for Landorus as well. But because this is a mon that likes to pivot a lot if it can. It's nice for Gliscor, and it also can benefit from Magnezone trapping all the steals that typically would like be the first answer on most teams to a Diancie. It makes the roster a little bit more weak to water and grass as well, but mostly water. But I mean, the main thing is that you have a Mega Diancie now. I mean, this is, like I mentioned earlier, this is a huge offensive threat. It's fast too, which is something that the team lacked a ton of. So that's another huge hole that it's filling alongside Starmie, I suppose. But then you look at the the return, I guess. Which then we look at the other side of the trade, Empoleon. Now, don't get me wrong, Empoleon's an awesome Pokemon. All right, it's a mon that I honestly had my eye on in the pre-draft evaluations, just because I thought I could get it at a later round. It would be valuable. I mean, it's a Steel type, which offers a lot of resistances, and it is also a Water type, which is just one of the better defensive types in the game. So you combine those for just a very unique and good defensive typing. Obviously, Water also fits the Rain identity of the team at first glance, but we'll get back to that. It also brings Rocks and Defog and a couple status moves, so it really is just like this archetypal good defensive mon, a role player, as it were. But and I mean, he already saw play on Jacob's team. I mean, he was brought, and we saw it like do well in its role. But the thing is, it's just there are a lot of water types on this roster already. I mean, they're already very grass weak, and granted, there aren't many offensive grass types, but also electric weak. And yes, Swampert and not Thundurus, because it's not Thundurus T, but Swampert helps with that. But you really don't want to be putting all that switch in pressure on your primary offensive threat in Mega Swampert, because then, like, what if you get one turn wrong on the switch in and it clicks coverage move instead, and now your Swampert's half, and it just doesn't work out well. But I don't want to go too hard on that. I mean, I get that you probably want the defog that it offers. That's something that's rather unique in it for a bulky water type. So you probably want a water type that has access to hazard removal. And the Steel type is nice, because Aggron's a little awkward if you're not running Mega Aggron, because it's a rock type in the rain. And then, like, Doublade is a Doublade. So I get wanting a good Steel type as well. But the thing is, well, you already have a really good Steel type that gets hazard removal and loves being in the rain because it has a 4x weakness to fire. And that's for Etris, right? I mean, it gets Stealth Rock. It gets the same hazard moves that Empoleon gets. It gets Rapid Spin, which is better than Defog. It gets Volt Switch, which is something that Empoleon doesn't boast. And it has the same Steel typing, right? So it gets most of the same resistances that you're looking for, on top of a few additional ones that you miss out on because of the water typing. Not Bug. And so, in essence, when taken within the context of the team, this is a trade that, in my eyes, doesn't fix the major weaknesses, which are, like, type diversity, and I guess, like, raw speed is a minor one, but really it's just type diversity, and then, like, ease of play, which is to say that, like, well, if Rain's up, Swampert and Kingdra are very good, but other than that, like, Thundurus has to set up to be very threatening, Hawlucha has to set up to be very threatening, same for, I guess, Doublade can set up and be threatening, but, like, Mega Diancie, before it was traded, was the only immediately strong thing on this whole roster, other than, like, Swampert if Rain is already up, but that's not immediate, really. So, at best, Empoleon will marginalize other good members of the team, like Etris, or it will be redundant with them, and at worst, it won't even get brought. So, and look, I understand the problems with Mega Diancie on the roster for Chris. Don't get me wrong. Like, I looked at the tape, I saw what was going on the court. The team clearly had a direction it wanted to move in, and there are only so many slots in the team builder, let alone Megas in a battle. I mean, we saw Mega Diancie Mega Evolve, that is, one time in 5 games. You almost felt bad for them. Like, it seemed like such squandered potential. But this was a first-round pick. It was supposed to be a premier meta threat, and they weren't even coming to all the games. So on some level, I get it. You want to move on from this thing that isn't working, and maybe bring in somebody who gels better with what you're trying to do. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't completely ruin the roster, but you just can't help but think that they could have gotten something a bit more juicy in return, As it stands, only time will tell how Chris can navigate the new look squad. With the latter stretch of the schedule coming up, maybe there are good prospects ahead. On the other hand, Jacob's updated roster looks like probably one of the scariest in the league. So, we'll see how it plays out. I guess maybe the plan is to secure Toxapex with the first pick next season, but we'll have to wait and see. Until then, thanks for listening, and I'm out.